Well, as we've mentioned, the vaccines passport system in the province is now in effect. Many are still adjusting, and questions about rights for employees and employers continue to surface. Here to help us answer some more of them is employment lawyer Alex Lucifero. I guess, Alex, the first one, too, as we talk about the vaccine passport, does it apply to employees, and being specific about this, who are working at restaurants, bars, and other facilities like that?
Well, interestingly, Matt, if we look at the legislation, it actually excludes workers from the vaccine passport system. So workers are beyond that piece of legislation. And so we're in this interesting situation where clientele, customers of bars, restaurants, gyms, etc., have to show proof of vaccination, but employees, workers, do not.
And so do you think that, and do you think there are going to be any challenges to that as we slowly start to explore and this starts to continue as this system continues to expand and move forward?
Well, as an employment lawyer, I've seen lots of employers starting to implement mandatory vaccination policies. And you're right, Matt, it is leading to some disputes, some difficulties between employees and employers. I think employers should be stopping short of letting employees go, either because they refuse to disclose their vaccination status or because they're not vaccinated. I think there are other better options and alternative solutions that employers can find there, but we are starting to see that happen. We're starting to see employees being let go or being given notice of a possible termination on the basis of vaccination status.
Okay, so I guess I want to ask you too, because we're talking today, so you talk about other alternatives, other possible solutions that employers could often. Take us through a couple of them in your view.
Sure. I mean, there's lots that an employer can do. I mean, as a starting point, an employer can simply continue operating under the same public health guidelines that our government has suggested and implemented in the form of regulations. And that includes all of the stuff we now know very well: physical distancing, mask wearing, cleanliness, etc. Lots of employers, of course, could continue to allow employees to work from home, for example. Now, those employees in, again, restaurants, bars, et cetera, where this vaccine passport will be implemented, again, could follow these health and safety guidelines rather than requiring employees be vaccinated. If they do, Matt, decide to let those employees go on the basis of vaccination status, those employees would be owed severance and potentially other forms of damages as well, but they would certainly be owed severance in a situation like that. And again, I think there are other and better solutions out there than having to go down that road.
Right, and I guess that's the point, because that was going to be my final point for you too, is if an employee is let go right now as this continues, they are offered severance. What other avenues do they have at this point too?
Well, keep in mind, Matt, an employer can always let an employee go without cause, meaning for any particular reason, as long as that reason isn't discriminatory in any particular way, as long as that employee is paid the proper amount of severance, then the termination is completely legitimate and legal. Now, there might be some cases, again, there might be some medical exemptions, there might even be some religious exemptions where a termination is potentially discriminatory, but those will probably be quite rare.
And again, we'll continue to monitor a lot of these situations as they continue to be challenged, I'm sure, here in the near future. Alex Lucifero, thank you for this, sir. Appreciate it, as always.
Always a pleasure, man.